G'day, I'm Erli. I'm the feral forager. I like to run around the city, dig up shit and eat it. Today I'm going to go to the community gardens and meet with someone called Glou. Hopefully he can give us some nice fresh herbs for a stew that I've been making. It's pretty far away, but I know a secret way. So let's go meet with him now. Alright, here we go. I think this is the right way. Oh, g'day. Alright, yeah, that was the right tunnel. Okay, here we are at the Renowned Street Community Orchard. This is a little lovely garden organised and maintained by the locals who live here. All volunteer work, of course. And this kind of place is really good to look for herbs, which we'll need for our stew. Let's go have a look. Here we go. This is a beautiful little bay tree. I can tell someone's put a lot of care into this tree. We'll only take one or two of these because that's all you need for a good stew, and you can reuse them over and over as long as you're safe about it and you dry them out. It's a good bay leaf. Now this one's rosemary, and it adds a sort of soft, sort of herby flavour to anything you put it in. Let's just grab a sprig like that. That'll do for our stew. All right. We've found here some thyme. Now this grows on the ground. Usually people mistake it for a weed, but it provides this sort of a slight sweetness to stuff you put it in. Let's just grab just one sprig like that is plenty. And with that, we've got the herbs we'll need for our lamb stew. Oh, g'day.
Hi.
My name's Erli, I'm the feral forager. I've just picked some herbs, I hope that's okay.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, cool.
I'm Drew.
Good to meet you, Drew.
Nice to meet you.
Are you involved with this garden?
Yeah, I started this garden with my partner Beck.
Oh yeah?
We just live a few doors up the street.
Oh, so you're one of the people who started this place?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, that's cool. And how long has it been running?
It's about 2.5 years. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, right, cool.
Yeah, so this is a patch of land owned by Melbourne Water.
Uh-huh.
The Merlinston Creek flows underneath here in a pipe. So in theory it's a flood zone, which is why there's no houses or anything on it. And yeah, wanting to plant more fruit trees than I could fit in my garden, we sort of saw this spot and thought, oh,
yeah, there's space
we could do something here.
There's certainly space for it.
Yeah, this is kind of considered part of the upfield urban forest, which is the sort of umbrella term for the project of attempting to green and create sort of a wildlife corridor and shade and stuff all along the upfield rail line, which is just there.
Oh yeah?
So yeah, we get help from people involved in the outfield urban forest as well who come along.
Yeah, right. I'm really grateful for your efforts. Thank you so much.
No worries, my pleasure.
All right, well, I'm going to head back now. It's good to meet you, Drew.
Enjoy the herbs.
Awesome, thanks, I will. All right, we're back in the kitchen. Excuse the change of outfit. It started raining while I was moving through the storm drains. Had to change, it was very messy. We've got some herbs here from the community garden, thanks to our friend Drew, and I think they'll go really well in a lamb stew. So we've got here some lamb from Meatsmith, a really nice little butcher down the road. We're just going to dice it into small, bite-sized chunks. Now this is a nice cut of lamb shoulder. You can use any cut of lamb you like, as long as you stew it for long enough. Certain cuts like shoulder will take a while to stew, up to 2 hours. And that keeps them nice and tender and easy to eat. My dad's got no teeth, so I've got to cook it really soft for him. It's actually his recipe that I'm using. It's an old family recipe that he's passed down to me, and I'll be proud to show off. Alright, once we've got that nicely chopped into bite-sized pieces, we'll put some oil in a pot, heat it up, and then stir fry the lamb until it's sealed and light brown. Just using plain olive oil here. Coat the bottom of the pan, and we'll just put the oil on the heat. Make sure it's nice and hot before we put in the lamb. That means that the lamb won't soak up the oil, but it'll still get nice and crispy. High heat is good. You just swirl it around and make sure it coats the bottom of the pan completely. Alright, it's nice and hot now, so we're going to put in the lamb. And it makes that nice low sizzle. Alright, and we'll just stir that around. And I'll keep it stirring for as long as I can. That's the sound we want to hear. Alright, and while that's browning in the oil, we're going to season with salt and pepper, just to make sure that it seals in the flavour. Okay, the salt, generous amount, and some freshly ground black pepper. Plenty. I like it nice and spicy. And I'll make sure it's nicely coated in hot oil and salt and pepper. Alright, and while that's stir frying, I'm just going to chop up some onions, carrots and celery and make a mirepoix. Just a fine dice of all three. And it's okay to leave the lamb in the pot for a little while extra and let it go a little brown and crispy on the bottom. And it's okay if it sticks, because that's forming fond, which will make the stew quite rich and taste very strongly of lamb. I did say a fine dice, but I'm lazy, so I'm just going to chop it roughly. Besides, I like the onions a little bit chunky. I learned a trick once about how to avoid the onion stinging your eye while you cut it. The trick is to just keep your eyes closed while you're cutting. That way the onion juice can't go into your eyes, you know? And sometimes it means that your onion is a little rough chopped, and sometimes you get a bit of blood in the stew, but that's okay.
Gotta practice good hygiene.
Okay, so I finished chopping the onions roughly. As you can see, I'm pretty upset about it. I'm going to put this in the stew with the browned lamb. Turn the heat up nice and high so that it makes that crispy fond on the bottom of the pot. Just make sure to give it a quick stir every few minutes or so, and those onions will go nice and translucent. Next up, we'll chop the celery, which I've already washed, don't worry. Chop off the white bit and the big stalk at the end, and slice it into thin little strips like so. And that goes in the pot too. Give it a quick stir, make sure it's all incorporated before we move on to the carrots. Alright, now we've got here some pretty old carrots. You can see they're a bit bendy. That's okay, we can use the thicker end, which is still good. It's not quite as crisp, not quite as bendy rather. It is crisp. And you can see it's just fine inside, it's just a little soft, which is perfect for a stew. And we'll just make little round slices out of it. And we'll put 2 or 3 carrots, I guess. Everybody likes carrots, right? Quick and easy, chop them up. And into the stew. And give it a quick stir. I can see that it's starting to form a sort of crispy brown layer on the bottom, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now at this stage, we're going to add some cooking wine. This is just cheap wine. 1 cup for this much stew. And using that wine, we'll scrape up all of the fond off the bottom of the pot. It's easy to scrape up with a liquid, and it'll make the stew delicious. Okay, we'll let that deglaze in the wine until it's completely evaporated. There should be no wine left, that way it makes a really thick, rich sauce in the finished product. And while we're waiting for that to deglaze, we're going to cut up some tomatoes. Okay, now in our stew here, it's starting to reduce the wine. It's becoming quite thick and rich. Look at that beautiful colour. Okay, we've got our tomato chopped. I'm going to chop up some potatoes next into just little cubes. We'll start by cutting it lengthways so that you've got a flat surface to cut on, and then we're just going to slice and then slice in the opposite direction, just like so. Okay, so the wine in our stew has pretty much completely reduced. That means it's going to make a nice thick sauce. We're going to next throw in our extra veggies, the tomato and potatoes, our beautiful herbs from the community garden, and a little bit of stock that I made in the previous episode. In with the tomatoes and the potatoes, the fresh veggies. We've got some rosemary, which we'll just break like so, and throw that in whole. We've got some bay leaves, throw them in whole, and we've got some thyme. We'll just break off little leaves and sprinkle them in. And also, we'll put in some stock, which I made last episode. It's just plain veggie stock. And we'll pour that in, about half a litre. stir it together. And the liquid should just cover the stew. Make sure those bay leaves are submerged. Then we'll pop on the lid and we'll let that stew for a few hours until the lamb is very tender and soft. Now that stew is pretty much ready. I'm going to have a taste, see how it is. It smells really delicious. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like that lamb is really tender. And there we have homemade lamb stew, family recipe. I'm going to have a taste. Oh, yum. Oh, that's really good. The richness that we got from cooking the wine down is really good. I'm going to dig in and I'll catch you next time.